This is a big piece of black walnut burl, and it's actually the same burl that I used to carve this rhino sculpture here around a year ago. I've been holding onto this thing for a while, waiting for the perfect opportunity, and this is the time to use it. I'm going to be turning this into a grizzly bear, and the first thing I need to do is kind of cut this thing down to size and use my template to decide where I want the epoxy to be on this sculpture. I think some of my favorite sculptures are when the epoxy is in the head of the animal that I'm doing, and this grain is actually perfect for that because the most beautiful part of this burl will be right where the shoulders and head meet. The underside of this definitely presents some issues, so I'm going to use some Total Boat tabletop epoxy to fill up all these holes, which will hopefully prevent air bubbles from releasing during the main pour. If this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, you're probably really confused why everything's in the refrigerator. I like to keep everything at a constant 55 degrees. I tend to pour much deeper than the manufacturer recommends, and temperature is one of the main factors that dictates a successful pour. For these deep pours, I'm using Total Boat Thickset Fathom, and I've had really good results for these in the past. Thank you, Total Boat, for supporting my channel, and if you're interested in any other great products, check out my description. I'm actually doing 3 separate pours for this one. There's just too much epoxy in only one area on this to have a successful pour, so I'm spreading it out over a week and doing 3 individual pours. I then throw some lead in these cups just to disperse a little more epoxy to the head area, since the back area will be cut off anyways. The epoxy pour went great, and check out the grain pop in the sun. It really makes it stand out, and I can't wait to start carving this thing and whittling it down to shape. I'm using cut-saw discs and burrs for this entire carving, and they basically have every shape and size that I need to get the job done. I'll put a link to all these discs and burrs in the description. can't do this anymore. Can't do it. Way too hot. I live in Central California and our summers can get brutally hot. Here's what I get to look forward to next week, and inside my shop I have no way in combating this heat. As you see, it's 99 degrees. That is until now, because my Mr. Cool DIY ductless mini split has finally arrived. Mr. Cool is renowned for having the easiest do-it-yourself ductless mini split on the market. That means it can be installed without an HVAC specialist, no need to call and make an appointment, no extra fees out of pocket, and you can have this thing up and running in no time. The instructions were easy to follow and had a ton of pictures showing you exactly how to do it, which is basically all I go off of. And the best thing is, it only required a couple of really basic tools. Alright, now for the test. It was 99 degrees in this shop around 45 minutes ago. Let's check and see where we're at now. It's now 85 degrees in the shop, and that's what, a 14 degree change in only 45 minutes? I am absolutely pumped about that, and this thing is going to be an absolute workhorse in the shop. So thank you, Mr. Cool, for sponsoring this video, and let's get right back to the carving. The eyes are always the most difficult part of every sculpture. I must have redrawn and erased about 20 sets of eyes before finally settling on a pair I think will work. It's crazy, it's not even like a measurement thing. I don't even know what's wrong, I just know it doesn't look right. So it's just really hard to find what looks right. And finally I think I found a pair that looks about right. Now it's time to address all these holes and gaps in the underside and top side of this sculpture. I'm using this UV cure for these smaller sections, and then I'll use epoxy for the larger gaps. This stuff is actually really cool. You just put a UV light or put it in the sun and it will instantly cure. I'm going to be doing something I have never done before, and I really hope it works out. I'm going to basically just hot glue around these holes, put on some packing tape, and then kind of hot glue the whole thing, basically creating a epoxy tight gap to then just pour the epoxy down into. This new technique worked out surprisingly well, and I'm definitely going to be adding this to the bag of tricks in the future. You hear me say it every time, and I'm going to say it again on this one because sanding never gets easier. For the epoxy portions, I'm sanding all the way up to 5,000 grit, and this is all done by hand because basically no rotary or machining tools can really get into these tight curves like this. Now this part I'm really excited about. I'm going to be using the exact same 3D reference as this sculpture I did previously, and I'm going to make a fish that goes inside the grizzly bear's mouth. I'm going to be using this maple burl gifted by my buddy Alex. Thank you, Alex, because this grain is some of the best grain I've ever seen on a piece of wood. Believe it or not, this is the smallest sculpture I've ever carved, and it's really fun being able to do everything on the bandsaw, and it's very, very efficient. It's cool to see the shape of the fish evolving in only a couple minutes rather than a couple days like my larger work. And just like that, we have a little trout for this grizzly bear to munch on. I'm going to be using this N3 Nano finish made by Cam over at Blacktail Studios. This stuff gives this sculpture not only more added protection, but more depth and sheen as well, and I really like the look of this. Now it's time to start thinking about how this sculpture is going to be displayed. I picked up these two stones and now I need to pick which one I like better. After going back and forth for a while, I decided to go with the gray. I think it's a really clean look and it really enhances the walnut burl. Okay, I ran into a problem and I would love for one of you to help me out. I am using brand new masonry bits. I am using water, I have it on my hammer setting, and I'm using all three modes. I tried all speeds and nothing seemed to work. I spent probably 2.5 hours just drilling 3 minor holes. What am I doing wrong here? Is it the type of rock that I purchased? Please let me know in the comments because I am stumped. And here's my problem on the backside. I need large holes in the stone for the countersink washers and nuts to fit, and I already ruined my carving bit and a carbide bit, so there is no way I'm drilling a big hole in the backside of this. But I think I have an alternative idea that will actually enhance this pedestal's look. I'm going to try and carve a natural live edge in this walnut that perfectly fits within the stone. I basically want the stone to look like it's just half stone, half walnut, but then tapers at the end. And I hate how it looks. It was a good idea in my head, but it just doesn't look right. My new plan is to downsize this piece of walnut and chamfer all the sides and make it into a stand or some kind of a riser for the stone. Now this is the look I'm going for. I really like it, and the walnut now allows me to make hidden countersunk holes for the nuts and bolts to fit. And now there's only one last thing to do, and let's feed this grizzly bear. He's been hungry after all this work. Let's give him his prize. Oh, who's a good boy? Thank you guys for watching this video, and if you like this one, I think you're gonna like my other ones as well, so be sure to check those out. All right, let's show you the finished sculpture.